Pete Alonso did not win the home run derby.
I didn't watch for more than 30 seconds.
And listen, it's just not my thing. But you watch because there's nothing else on. You know, Marco's kind of interested in home runs and all that. But listen, it's not captivating. But what came from it was that the locals spoke. Because you've got two high-powered free agents on both respective teams in Soto and Alonso. And both of them spoke. And I thought both of them went about their message differently. You probably have the Juan Soto. He was on. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. What he had to say about his pending free agency on the eve and now the day of the All-Star game.
Yeah, will this year's result impact if you want to stay here?
I don't know if it's going to affect any of my decision. Whenever we're there, we're going to sit down and look around. But right now, I hope to win another championship with the Yankees. We're trying to do our best, and that's what we focus on.
All right, so he's your typical Scott Boras client, not giving too much, not revealing too much. And then you've got Pete Alonso, who's also a free agent, and he did not mince words about where he wants to be.
Yeah, he was asked about his love for New York.
I love New York. I love the Mets. I love being in Queens. Like, it's really been such a special place. I mean, some of my best, not just baseball memories, but life memories have been in New York. And I mean, it's been, I don't know, I think almost 9-10 years. And for me, like how the fans, the organization has welcomed me, embraced me, like from day one, not just in the big leagues when I crossed over, but from like when I was on the minor league side too. Like, it's been awesome. So like, I've had not just great baseball experiences, like I've had the best baseball experiences in my life, but I've grown up in New York. I mean, pretty much all my 20s I've been in New York, since 21, and now I'm 29. Like, it's been a fantastic experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I'm, again, super happy to be a Met, super proud to be a Met, and again, like, it's just been awesome. I'd love to stay, and like, I don't want to get traded. Like, I love it. It's home.
Now, that's not the way Boras wants his clients to speak. So Pete wants to stay here. I don't think that's lip service. I think he wants to be here. Now, he did turn down a contract offer. I'm not saying he's not about the money. He wants to get paid. But he didn't speak, at all guardedly. He wants to stay here. But it doesn't seem like the Mets want to keep him. And I'm telling you, the similarities between Barkley and Alonso are amazing. It's scary how close they are. They're almost identical, Peter. Identical situations. Think about it. Saquon Barkley, drafted by the Giants, a forever Giant, great player. Same thing with Pete Alonso with the Mets. Both of them becoming free agents, and it doesn't seem like either of the organizations they play for wanted to keep them. And then the similarity where when you watch the Hard Knocks with the Giants, John Mara wanted to keep Barkley. But Shane's in charge, and there's a salary cap, so John Mara took a step back, even though clearly he wanted to keep Barkley, and Barkley wanted to stay. Giants didn't want to keep him. He leaves. Seems like it's a similar situation, except Steve Cohen doesn't have to worry about a salary cap. Will he, Peter, back off the way Mara did and let Stearns do what he needs to do and not Bigfoot him? Or when this comes time, especially depending on what happens over the next, if the Mets do not trade him, and he ends up having a successful season, and the Mets go to the playoffs and beyond, will Steve Cohen step in and say, no, David, I trust your judgment, but we don't have a cap. I'm prepared to go with a luxury tax. I'm sitting on billions of dollars, and it's burning a hole in my pocket. We're keeping Pete, and won't back off the way John Mara did. I think that's where maybe my analogy kind of splits to where will Cohen back off the way Mara did, or will Cohen say, hey, I got the money. We're not in a cap sport. I'm willing to take on the luxury tax and all that comes with that. I don't want Pete to go.
The number one question is that how he feels? Do we know that is how Steve Cohen feels about Pete Alonso?
We knew Mara wore his heart on his sleeve, and we have a history of how he felt about Eli and how he felt about guys that he drafted and Forever John. I don't know how Steve Cohen feels about. And now He grew up a Yankee fan. His wife's a Met fan. Whatever. He wears his Met hat. He seems to be a fan of the team now. But I don't know how deep he feels about these guys that wear the pinstripes the way Mara does.
That sort of gets to the conversation we kind of briefly touched on the other day about Alonso and using Sequan as that comp. Does the fan base feel that way about Pete? Like that's the question. Now, you're asking a different question. Is he the kind of owner who will put his foot down if he in fact feels that way? That's your question. Mm-hmm. And I can't call it yet with Cohen. Like I really can't. I mean, Don, to be honest, that's a huge question. Like the decision on whether or not he's the kind of guy who does that will really be the proof on what kind of owner he is, and we don't know that yet.
See that's why I bring it up. Thank you for leading me there. Is that all Met fans are really excited to have Steve Cohen that's going to spend big-time money, and now we're not a poverty franchise anymore like we were with the Wilpons, where one mistake would make them all of a sudden become the Kansas City Royals for a decade. But if we know David Stearns is an X's and O's guy, he's an analytic guy, he's not going to be free spending. He is going to do what he thinks is right for the baseball team. He doesn't seem to like Pete Alonso, doesn't think Pete Alonso fits into the team he wants to build, and is willing to let him go. If he lets David Stearns run the team as he wants to, then I'd ask the question, then what good is Steve Cohen's money? If Steve Cohen's money is going to help this team eventually get over the top, then you need a general manager that thinks in like mind with him. If David Stearns is going to talk him out of paying for somebody that he doesn't believe deserves to be paid, well, then does it really matter how much money Steve Cohen has? So I'm really curious. Like, if Steve Cohen wants to keep Pete Alonso and says, I want this guy to help me sell tickets, I like him, I want him to be a forever Met. I happen to hear Don LaGreca's rant about Ed Kranepool, and I want to change that. I want to make Pete Alonso the face of this franchise for the rest of his career. And David Stearns says, no, Steve, I'm telling you, we can't do that. I think I can do better. Let me do my job. Then what good is Steve Cohen's money? Because I don't think Steve Cohen's going to spend like a drunken sailor. I think he's going to do what's right for the baseball. And I'm cool with that, because I trust him and I think he's going to build a good team. But then, obviously, you're not getting from Steve Cohen what you think, because it sounds like they'll be like the Yankees. They're going to work in a budget, and they're not going to overpay. They're not going to pay a penny more than they think somebody's worth. So my scary thing from a Met standpoint is we all think that Steve Cohen's going to pay whatever for Juan Soto. He's going to blow the Yankees out of the water, and he is going to get Juan Soto at all costs. But what if David Stearns says, no, Steve, come on, we're not paying $60 million for Juan Soto. That's silly. This is what I think we should offer him. And all of a sudden now the Mets aren't using their wealth, and now he's got a chance to go someplace else or stay with the Yankees. I don't know, and this could be a really good test case how this is handled with Alonso, what kind of power Steve Cohen actually has. Or is this David Stearns' team? And if that's the case, then what good's all this money? I
would almost argue, though, it's not a matter of whether he has the power, because we know that he has the power. It's just, is that the kind of owner he is? Does he flex the muscle?
Or he just says, I have my baseball people.
And but that's a huge difference, because the distinction is the owners who fail are the ones who say they're going to let people do what they do, but then they overstep.
But in the Giants case, John Mara, if football wasn't a capped sport, I think John Mara wins the face-off. And just give Sequan what he wants. Because it doesn't matter. I can pay him $25 million. It's not a capped sport. We're in New York. We print money. But in a capped sport, Mara had to be like, all right, listen, I trust you.
I got to listen to the money people.
I got to listen to these guys because, listen, I followed my heart with Eli Manning. Look what that got me. I can't follow my heart. I got to use my head here. We can't afford to make a mistake. We can't overpay for a player. But Steve Cohen can.
But then, so that's an interesting conversation, though. I guess, Don, all we can do is speculate on whether or not we think he's that. The other question I have today for Mets fans is, do you see Pete Alonso as that guy? Like, we're sitting here, he's having a great year. He is a major reason why your team now basically, as Dave Rothenberg put it earlier, will basically be competing up until when the football season starts at least. Pete Alonso is a big reason for that. Do you have love for Pete the way Giants fans have love for Sequan? It's an interesting conversation because we knew how they felt about Sequan.
But right now, the Mets are in a run, and it really hasn't involved Pete as much as Saquon was involved in the Giants run in 22.
True. But then, of course, this year he's coming off of what was not a very special season. So.
Right.